The Flux?
What's the flux?
Hello and welcome back to What the Flux. This is the fourth installment of our little roundup of Doctor Who Series 13. This time we'll be taking a look at Village of the Angels. I'm once again joined with Luke.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, we said that this episode could be the standalone episode of the series. Don't think it is.
No, it really was not by the time we got to that ending.
Definitely not by the ending. So should we dive in with our opening thoughts? What did you make of this episode?
I'm certainly more conflicted than I was about the other ones. Like, I still enjoyed it, but I'm not sure how much of that was like the just flow of energy from the first few episodes keeping me going. And also the aesthetic, the direction and cinematography of this one really did help a lot. There's some great stuff there and just a great idea to it as well that I think really does more for it than the execution does. I think that retains your interest more going through. I do wonder how well it holds up on rewatch, this one. Have you had a chance to rewatch it, by the way?
I've rewatched the first 15 minutes of it. Just to
more than I have.
refresh, just to refresh how the episode started. So I know, when we come to record it, okay, this is how the story opened up, and sort of just to dive in a bit more easier, I guess.
Yeah, but I suppose with how it ended, that does sort of overshadow how it starts in a lot of ways. And it does seem to make some earlier things seem a bit inconsequential as well.
Especially the Claire thing, definitely.
Yeah, like I think that's one of the things where we cut the first episode more slack because we don't know how these plot threads are going to tie in and if it will hold up stronger when you go back to them. But with Claire, I don't think she necessarily has that same payoff. I don't feel I enjoy her sequence as much in when I go back to Halloween Apocalypse.
No, like we all speculated, oh, she's going to be one of like the timeless doctors, but she is far from one of those.
I just thought it would have more to do with the angels themselves, like how she met them before, and like the more. It's not as timey-wimey as it seems because she hasn't actually met them before. She's just had
Premonition.
Yeah, a premonition of it. But yeah, so who knows? Maybe it'll hold up all right, but I don't know. That certainly is one of the things that I was a bit disappointed by, and the reveal of it as well. I mean, I suppose it's foreshadowed in the name, Clairvoyant, but yeah, unfortunately, I don't. Yeah, the reveal didn't work as well. But I do like that as a concept. The idea that she has this premonition of an angel, and from that, the angel's able to get inside her through.
Steady on.
Yeah, that.
Oh,
Definitely don't want to blink there.
all right.
Yeah, and that's how it was a good idea. I think that it's just maybe execution there let it down a bit.
Hmm.
And yeah, it does definitely oddly for a Jimmel episode because he loves his exposition. The Angels this series have relied a lot on people having that foreknowledge of, you need obviously the blink stuff is easy enough to grab hold of, but then you've got the whole image of an angel becomes an angel, the angel being able to get inside someone's mind, all this like added lore that we got during the later angel episodes isn't really explained here. So I do wonder how more casual viewers took that.
I think my problem is this should have been set up in Once Upon a Time with like Yaz and the Angels. Like there was no sort of connection to go, oh, this is a weeping angel. Like I think we said in last week's episode that you can sort of let it off because it would be explained in this episode, and it wasn't really.
No, it really wasn't. But yeah,
Which is a shame.
I suppose maybe it does kind of explain Claire's odd behavior now, though, because she never seemed like shocked by the angel being there and stuff. Whereas now that we know she's had that premonition of it before, that adds up.
Yeah, she knew she had to go and face the angel in a way.
And I did like that opening sequence with her and Jericho when they're talking about, they've got like the whole lie detector almost thing, isn't it? Where they're trying to establish a baseline, but she can't quite say the truth of when she was born and such.
Yeah, like 85, but it's 1935, and yeah.
Yeah. And I think that was a good way of like getting some exposition to the audience about her without it being too obvious.
Yeah, because even the previously on Doctor Who Flux, there was no Claire in that.
Yeah, that's a bit weird.
It's always like the same old Vinda going, whoa, what's that? And yeah, there was no sort of recap of, okay, this is Claire, this is when we first met her, and here she is in, 1967.
Speaking of the Vinda bit, I swear that's not what he said in the episode. Because like in the previously he says what in the Saints or something, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I swear the actual line in the original episode was what the hell.
Maybe just ADR. They just ADR'd over it.
Yeah. Maybe is there something like you cannot say hell in the first few minutes of an episode or something?
Maybe. And especially
know,
it being on a Sunday as well.
yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. It's a weird one.
But I feel like there is something like with Watershed and stuff. You can't get too brutal in the opening.
I think you are right with that, actually. I remember hearing some weird regulation about the word hell.
Who knows?
We're safe because, it's past 30 seconds of this.
Yeah. Certainly in YouTube videos, there is, if you swear a bit too much in the first minute or so, you're not getting ads, but yeah, anyway, BBC doesn't have ads anyway, so they don't have to worry.
It's all fine.
But, yeah. What did you make of Jericho? Because I know you're not quite as big of a fan as I am.
Well, I mean, I'll rewind a little bit to my opening thoughts.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
yeah.
Stolen.
No, it's fine.
Cut the rug out from under you.
No, it's fine. Just getting straight to the chase of it, really. Even though Bradley Walsh isn't with us at the minute.
Yeah, best to set your baseline for the episode before we get to
before we get to Jericho and explore all that sort of stuff. I'm gonna be honest. When I finished this episode, I thought, yeah, it's all right, it's okay. And then I went on social media, Twitter, and all that sort of stuff, and saw everyone loving it. And I was like, I'm really happy that you enjoyed it, but I don't seem to have the same enjoyment what everyone else has had. Like, I loved Maxine Alderton's previous script, Haunting of Lydia Darty. It's my favorite, probably Jodie episode so far, actually. So I had quite high expectations going, all right, this is going to be a great sort of gothic story. And yeah, it had a good atmosphere to it. I liked it. I think that was one of the stronger things about the story. But for me, I feel like it's probably the weakest part of Flux for me at the minute.
Yeah, I feel like there's lashings of atmosphere covering up a plot that once you start to pick at, it all starts to fall apart a bit.
Yeah, it's like a Weeping Angel story, but it doesn't have the legs to be a full 50 minutes. So they've kind of had to put all the Flux stuff in, because this episode for me feels like the Weeping Angel's greatest hits. Like, do you remember that? Oh, this is that. It does feel like taking magpieing, the greatest Weeping Angel moments and merging it into this, really.
Yeah, but I do love that this is almost feels like Weeping Angels in a Hinchcliffe story. I think it's probably the closest we get to that sort of feeling. Whereas the other Weeping Angel stories have felt much more modern. This feels closer to being classic.
I did sort of get a Stones of Blood vibe when it was like counting the stones.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, nothing really came of that in a way.
Sadly. No, like that character, we never see him again, I don't think.
Yeah, the Vicar, yeah.
Yeah, it's a moment that's good on its own, but then in the overall structure of the episode feels a bit pointless. And I mean, like with the old woman whose name I can't remember, I guessed instantly that would be Peggy all grown up. Like that's quite obviously in front of you there. At least to me, it felt that way.
Yeah, I can see that.
Which, I mean, it's not a bad thing when it's that obvious, but it's when you have a reveal that acts like it's so shocking and you think, it really wasn't.
Yeah, it really wasn't there. It's a big, big thing.
But speaking of that little girl, she was a bit psychopathic.
Yeah, I never liked her anyway.
Yeah. Oh.
I mean,
But
is she continuing in Survivors of the Flux and Vanquishers? Do we know?
I don't think so. Because I
Oh,
suppose she's got to stick around in that town, hasn't she?
I
Because
guess so,
she
yeah.
eventually grows old there. But, yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
I did enjoy that little twist of the town being in its own little sort of pocket and sort of it being eroded away. I thought that was a great little science fiction thing.
yeah, I think I've heard people saying it's an attempt to do something sapphire and steely, and I definitely see that. But I feel like the way they do it is almost too on the nose, and also feels a bit awkward the way it's shot with like you've still got the night sky above, but then whatever that is going on with just
Mm.
space out there. I feel like the better way to do it, and you even get a hint of it when Peggy says, "I swear that sign used to be further up there," is to have it be like literally just contracting in on itself, and you just use camera trickery to sort of like show they've been walking a long way, but then they turn around and see that they've hardly gone anywhere, and sort of have the world be folding on itself that way. Similar to a Sapphire and Steel episode, actually. And I'm pretty sure it's been used in a Doctor Who episode too.
It feels Douglas
But
Adams for me, actually, just the whole concept of it. Like it feels
yeah.
like it would fit season 16 quite well, actually.
Hmm. But yeah, I certainly feel like instead of going for the whole CGI spacescape, just use camera trickery and have it just be like they literally can't escape the town. Like a bit like Castrovalva, where they're sort of going around there, but they just end up constantly back in the same place. Just have it be like that, where time's folding in on itself for this quantum extraction thing, but not in an obvious way.
Yeah.
It just feels a bit too, yeah. I think that would have suited it a bit more, what they were going for, and would have saved a bit on the budget.
Yeah. So I don't think this is the budget episode.
No, certainly not.
There are some ropey things. I feel like the angels themselves look a little bit ropey in it.
Yeah, they're not quite the same, are they? It's often that same hands in front of face pose. They're not quite as articulated as we used to get with the other angel stories.
I feel like they're using this planet Earth's replicas, to be honest. Like I think in the behind the scenes they said it's a mixture of, actors and actual statues. I think it does become quite obvious of which are the people inside the angel costumes and which are the actual statues, which, you kind of can get away with the angels being actual statues, but you can tell
It's
that
like
it's
it's
not
almost
so.
yeah, there's almost over reliance on it, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the hands coming out of the walls though. That was brilliant. That was
Oh, in
great
the
imagery.
cave, yeah.
Yeah, like there's loads of great moments down there. So things like them not being able to get into the house just because you lock the doors. It's all like you just suspend your disbelief a bit for that. I don't mind it. I think it works for what they're going for. This more base under siege thing. You could sort of get away with saying, "Oh, this must just be like a weaker group compared to the ones we see in Time of the Angels and Flesh and Stone."
No, but this should be
But
like a special ops group because they're.
yeah,
Recall that angel. So
yeah, like that's sort of how I was getting away with it at first. But then you get that twist later on, and you're just a bit like, hmm. But I like how that's really expanded the division now, at least. Like before, it just seemed like, oh, it's another Time Lord CIA thing. Then we had Carvanista involved, which sort of hinted at it being something more. Now
well,
that the Angels are involved, it does seem like the division is bigger than the Time Lords.
I've seen people mention like Voga having like the seal of Rassilon, and maybe
Ah,
Voga
yeah.
was part of the division.
Yeah, that
Which
could finally explain that.
I mean, Chibnall likes his Hinchcliffe, brain and Morbius. So
Mm.
I wouldn't put it past him that this was his inspiration for it,
What if
really.
the inspiration for his entire eras is just Hinchcliffe Who fan theories?
Maybe that's the Chibnall era in a nutshell.
Yeah. But yeah, and this episode does have that almost Hinchcliffe vibe. It feels like it's trying to go for. So I do like that. Okay, it is more like surface level things that I really enjoyed in this episode.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
certainly it is a bit of a worrying sign for going forward. Like, how well is Flux itself going to wrap itself up, especially
I
when there's a lot still to do.
I feel like they're adding way more questions than we're getting answers at this point. Like I'm not saying we should have, majority of the answers now, but I feel like we should have at least a few answers to it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, hopefully it all pays off well in the end. But yeah, certainly there is some worries there.
So I think one of the problems with Series 12 in terms of certain stories, it would overpack certain stories and it would just feel very compact and just a bit messy at times.
Yeah, just like an exposition dump for a finale.
Yeah. And I think Chibnall sort of learned his lesson with Once Upon Time. Um, you didn't have that exposition as much because it was done in a better way.
Hmm. I mean, speaking of that and the overall Flux picture, we do have some Bell stuff in here, don't we? But
Yeah,
Neil from the In-Betweeners.
I was so certain the Master was going to turn up in this one.
Really?
Yeah, because when you get sort of Blake Harrison's character going, oh, there's somebody who's rounding up survivors and helping them. I was like, this feels very Delgado colony in space type vibe.
Oh.
I
But
was
then I
like,
think he mentions it's a she quite early on, though, doesn't he?
does he? 'Cause I just was like, yeah, Shasta Dewan's going to be in this one. And I just thought that'd be really cool, like a little homage to 72. But no, it was Azure and Passenger.
Yeah. To be honest, I was thinking more maybe Joe Martin, the fugitive doctor, for a little
Really?
bit. But then, yeah. But then it's sort of like just before I was like, oh no, it's going to be Azure, isn't it? And I mean, it made sense to show the passenger collecting people. But yeah, it didn't really give us anything new this section.
Mm.
And then we got a very weird post-credit scene.
To be honest, I hated that.
Yeah, it did.
It really undercut your cliffhanger.
Hmm. And like you could have easily slotted that in just before the cliffhanger, really.
I, I just don't think it was needed. I think
Hmm.
where you left Belle and Vinda in the previous story, that's great. Leave them there for now. And then we can have them reunited at a later point. I don't think that this story needed it, personally.
It does feel like it's going over the same stuff with Belle again.
It just
Like
feels
with
like in a constant loop of, oh, will they, won't they? Will they see each? They're not because we've got 2 episodes. Too soon.
yeah. I mean, how long can Belle's pregnancy last if she's hopping between
I mean, she's
star
doing a
systems
bloody
and
good
stuff?
job.
Yeah. I mean, I do like her character. I do like Vinda's character. I think both actors bring a lot to the performance there.
Hmm.
And it is nice having these two characters who aren't necessarily connected to the Doctor be part of the main story. I think same with Jericho carrying on. I do like how that's worked in. But yeah, it does feel like they're the weak link of this episode, sadly. And although I like that final moment, I like what it's going for. I also just feel like it's very misplaced
Yeah.
and undercuts that cliffhanger. Yeah. But yeah, anyway, I've brought up Jericho again. We're coming back
There we
round
go.
to it. No backing out now. What are your thoughts on him?
I'm not backing out now. Do you know what? I think he's all right. He's grown on me.
There we go.
He's grown on me. It's just the doddery professor.
I love the promotional picture of him like tied up in the ropes for the next episode where he's like being lowered down into the cave. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, I have seen that. I have seen
I
that.
think there's something quite sweet and wholesome about that picture.
Your granddad goes on an adventure with with Yaz and Dan.
I mean, wasn't that series 11 and 12?
Basically with Graham, yeah. But
he's not quite as old though.
yeah, I feel like Jericho is quite wholesome. He's got some good moments, especially when he offers Claire the tea, but he's drinking it instead. There's some good little comedy moments there.
Yeah, I like how quickly he comes to respect the Doctor as well, and goes along with her. Like there certainly is that animosity at first to understandably this intruder in his house, but there's no like chip on his shoulder about her being a woman or anything.
Before I forget, there was one moment what annoyed me about that scene when, before they start locking the house up.
Hmm.
You might know what I'm going to say.
Hmm.
Sonic Screwdriver and The Rock.
Yeah, the Sonic Screwdriver's back to being overused this series, isn't it?
It was. Why do you need, like, it happened in War of the Sontarans. Why are you scanning a dead body? You can
Hmm.
clearly see it's a dead body. And then, second, why are you scanning a rock that's just smashed a window? Like, you can see it's a rock.
I mean, to be fair, sometimes with the Russell T Davis era, the sonic screwdriver was used like a medical instrument. It could like scan the body and find the injuries. I'm
Mm-hmm.
pretty like you have that in Empty Child, don't you? Where he's examining the patients.
Mm.
He uses the sonic. But yeah, in that there's nothing like that. It is just generic scan, wave it about, look at it, pull a funny face. That does seem to be
Yeah,
Jodie's sonic
scrunch.
screwdriver acting, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, maybe she was checking that the Weeping Angel didn't just like pick a bit of itself up and lob it.
Maybe, to be fair, that would have been an interesting way of doing it. Like, imagine like transforming into an angel by picking up a rock. It's got like, because you get Jericho transported because of like the dust, don't you? So
I don't know. I'm not sure. I think it was more that he sneezed, wasn't it? And then that's how he
no,
blinked.
some dust went in his eye,
Oh,
and the dust transported him
oh, so it's
to,
the dust himself.
yeah.
Itself.
So it
Oh,
added a
maybe.
little bit of new to the angels. Like, there's plenty of new and plenty of old with the angels within this story.
Hmm. But are you sure that's like dust from an angel, or is it just the actual dust of the walls themselves because the angel's
No,
coming through?
it was the same sort of effect as Claire rubbing her eye. So I presume it's the dust from the angel.
Ah, maybe. That's one of those things that needs a rewatch to have a check there.
Hmm. But I'm
Uh,
pretty certain it was the dust from the angel itself.
yeah. Speaking of, I feel like a lot of the angel stuff as well, you can maybe get around by saying, oh, because they're playing with them, that's like why they don't do the most logical thing. Like maybe they're breaking into the house slowly because they are just sort of playing along and being more manipulative. And I
But
do.
you have the whole scene of the angels using Jericho's voice, which people seem to prefer to Angel Bob, but I feel like I'm in the minority and I prefer the Angel Bob to the Jericho scene.
I think the thing about the Angel Bob scene is that's actually quite gruesome because they
Yeah,
sort of dissect his body afterwards, pick out the vocal cords and stuff, and then use that, don't they?
yeah. So I prefer
Yeah.
that because there's actual horror behind it, whereas the Jericho one is just sort of there really for me.
Yeah. I didn't mind the Jericho one, but yeah, I definitely do prefer the Angel Bob way of doing it. Bob's it doesn't quite work with having Jericho talking to himself if his lungs are ripped out.
Yeah, I mean that's one way of getting out of the story.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was sort it's nice to see their sadistic side in this. And I think that's the continuation in this series of Chibnall really getting the monsters. Like he really got the Sontarans down. I think he really gets the angels down as characters in this, or Maxine Alderton does, whichever one of them was chiefly writing that side of things. Like they are very narcissistic. They are very sadistic in their approach and just like taking pleasure in waiting for the doctor to work things out and such and
Yeah, that
tormenting a little
ending.
girl. Yeah. Like they
Um,
had no reason to do any of this really, like to the village and such. It was just for them to have fun, really. But yeah, that ending, go on.
yeah, because you've got Jodie Bling again. Why aren't you zapping me back? But it's all a trap, isn't it, for that deal? And we haven't mentioned that sort of Claire sequence in the mirror.
Oh yeah.
What a brilliant bit of classic horror.
That's very true.
Because I think there's something in our subconscious or psyche when we're like brushing our teeth and we, look down and we look in the mirror, we expect something to be behind us. There's always that little thought in our head going, is there something going to be behind me? And
Mm.
there was that nice little horror revelation of the angel wings, and that started the whole sort of sequence of the angel embedded in Claire, and those whole
Yeah.
sequences of Jodie going into Claire's mind. And Jodie had
That's
consent this time, and unlike Spyfall, where she's like, "I'm just going to erase your
yeah.
mind." Um,
Yeah, that's true. I
I
think
love those
what as well
sequences on the
worked.
beach.
Yeah. What as well worked about that was that that scene was new,
Hmm.
like in terms of the angel wings, like the other stuff with Claire, like her rubbing her eye and then the dust coming out, like that's lifted from
Flesh and
Flesh
Stone.
and Stone, which is fair enough. Like it makes sense if you're doing the same thing for the same symptoms to happen. But I like that they introduced a new one that makes sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it's pulled out of nowhere. Like I imagine if Amy looked in a mirror in Flesh and Stone, she'd have seen something similar. So yeah, I do like how that works out there. And also like that the angel, because the angel was counted down in Flesh and Stone and such, you don't quite get the same thing here because the angel's not in there just to play with and kill her. It's there to hide,
Yeah.
which then does lead to the wonderfully shot beach scene.
Oh, I love how it was sort of inverted as well. It was great.
Yeah, like it
And
definitely had
do you
some.
feel like that's going to tie into the mysterious house?
Oh, maybe actually.
Because
That
again, it
could
was
be.
sort of black and white grayscale, wasn't it?
Mm.
And I'm just
Wasn't
thinking,
quite as full on, was it though? But yeah.
yeah, but a part of me feels like, is that going to link with this mysterious crooked house? I don't know. I might be
Mm.
overthinking it and just
Yeah,
putting
we
two
still
and
haven't
two together.
yeah, still haven't seen any more on that yet. That's something that was sort of like teased there at the start and then just moved on from.
I don't think we're going to get it this week in Survivors of Flux, really, because I feel like this could be Doctor Light episode.
Yeah, it seems that way. Like nothing in the trailer other than the little glimpse of her as the statue. Uh, but yeah, I think. What did you think of the Rogue Angel itself and the idea of it being like on the run from the Division and having those similar qualities to the Doctor
I
and having the
liked it.
secrets as well? Like it knows about her.
I don't know. You don't know if it's just sort of toying because, like you say, the angels are very good with toying with people.
Mm.
So maybe the angel does have the answers. But I like the idea of the Time Lords using them as operatives because even in that sequence in End of Time, you get sort of the two people
Ah,
with the
yeah.
background with their eyes covered, and people say, "Oh, that's the Weeping Angels." So it'll everything seems to start to link and make sense when you put it in the grand scheme of Doctor Who lore, really. So I really like the idea of the Rogue Angel personally.
Yeah, definitely. I like and the extraction squad as well. I think that was quite nice. You know, it makes the division seem quite interesting that they would use weeping angels as operatives because they are, like we say, sadistic. They are not nice things. So the division is obviously not out to be good, but to do what needs to be done, it seems.
And you can still keep the angels as scavengers, but there's a small group who have been rounded up to work for the division. It's not like the whole species of weeping angels are division really, unless that yeah, because
Yeah, that's very true.
I don't know if we're going to see. I guess we're going to see more weeping angels at some
Mm.
point.
Yeah, it's all like people are just taking advantage of their nature and using that to it. Like the angels are still getting a lot out of this. They still get to feed. So it's like, it's just other angels are left more out in the wild and have to fend for themselves.
Yeah. Speaking of on the wild, out on in the wild, you get Dan and Yaz being transported back to 1901. Is it?
Yeah, which be
So they're going to
nice.
have Queen Victoria
Lo-
die.
yeah, nice location for that at least.
Yeah, very nice
Yeah.
location work.
Like it all feels very much like 60s and 1901 when they're in the different places. It feels very authentic to that and very well shot in that sense. But yeah, as for those two as characters, I don't think they really did much. It never felt like it almost felt like this script was written for one of them and then they had to throw
Yaz,
in a second one. Yeah.
this is a very good. I feel like Yaz was nailed very well. She's actually got the police training. She's taking charge of like the
Yeah, I like
investigation of Peggy. So it's like great. This is and the TARDIS is actually being used as a phone box, as a police box. It's great.
yeah, that was funny. Uh, but yeah, I think other than that, there wasn't really much for them to do.
Yeah, that is true.
They were sort of just like wandering around for a while until they eventually meet up the Doctor and get to witness like that. I think that's the awkward thing. Dan still hasn't spent any time with the Doctor, really. They keep separating them, which was something I was praising at first because I think Jodie's working a lot better on her own.
It
And
sort of has the
yet,
same structure as War of the Sontar, and like Flux has a that sort of weird structure of you're gonna have like an episode what lays down the big plot points, and you sort of get a standalone with a bit of plot in there, which is
mm,
just sort of your traditional Doctor Who story. It's like plot, plot, traditional episode, really, in a way.
yeah. Although this one sort of twists out my heads by the end of it. So, yeah, what did you make of that ending now?
I think that it's definitely up there with the likes of Stolen Earth Cliffhanger and like Wilderness and Time. I think that it's and like it sort of reminded me very much of the end of the Pandora Opens in a way. That sort of threat of
Mm,
it, really. I mean, I think
yeah.
it was a good cliffhanger. It was beautifully directed with sort of it working from the ground up and sort of spiraling up and seeing sort of transformation into an angel. I thought it was really well done. And yeah, Jodie absolutely sold that moment, really.
Yeah, it really was nailed. And it sort of does make you wonder where things are going to go from here. But yeah, I think just brilliant imagery overall, really, isn't it? Like the Doctor
Mm.
becoming an angel, I think is definitely going to be iconic for some children watching it growing up. Like that's going to be the moment when you ask them in 5, 10 years, what's your iconic Doctor Who memory? They'll probably point out, oh, the Doctor turning into an angel.
I can't wait for character options to do a figure of it.
Maybe. I mean, yeah, just take an angel body, stick. I mean, no, it's not even an angel body, is it?
No,
It's just just stick some wings on the back of Jodie's costume and have it all cast in grey.
coming to a B&M very soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will say this: Flux has got some very good cliffhangers.
Oh, definitely. I don't think there's been a bad one yet.
I mean, don't jinx it.
Yet. I mean, we've
Yeah.
only got one more cliffhanger, haven't we, really?
Yes.
Unless something sort of does lead into the New Year's special. We did get some news on that, so TARDIS isn't looking too great.
Which is nice that there's going to be some aftermath from Flux that we're not going to have all the answers just yet.
Hmm.
Hopefully, we will have majority of the answers from Flux by the end of like Vanquishers.
Yeah. And hopefully by the end of the centenary, there won't be anything left hanging.
Yeah, because I feel like we're not going to get the answers for the division. Yeah, I feel like that's going to be Vanquishers. I
Yeah,
feel
that's
like
true.
that's the big gun. What I think everyone wants answers for. I think that's the thing. What I'm really interested in exploring.
Hmm.
Um, that she's been recalled. So is the division still happening then? Really, I guess if Carvanista is still alive and the division is still operating in some capacity.
Yeah, maybe. Like that's the thing, just temporarily, how does it work? Because I was with Gallifrey being destroyed and such, you don't quite know. Yeah, I think that'll be interesting to find out how that all goes down. But yeah, do you think next week is going to be, Doctor Light, and we are going to have the two strands of modern day Earth and Unit, along with Carvanista against whatever threats coming at them, and then Yaz, Dan, and Jericho in the past?
See, I think it is probably going to be a Doctor Light episode, even though I really don't want it to be because of how brilliant Jodie's been this year. And we haven't got much Jodie left. And I'm like, I want to make the most of how brilliant Jodie's being at the minute. And I want to have every second we can with her.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, I think surely they're not just going to leave her as an angel as her punishment. Like, surely the division is going to want to bring her back in.
I
And like,
feel I feel like it could go down the revolution of the Daleks path that you have like the first 15 minutes of the story of this is what Dan and Yaz and Jericho have been doing for the past couple of years. Can't wait for Big Finish to do about 20 box sets in between the gap. Big Finish, you want to do it.
I even saw a couple of the writers. I can't remember. It might have been John Dorney and Tim Foley, but I'm not 100% sure. Talking about doing a Jericho and Claire spin-off.
Oh no.
Half jokingly. But yeah. I do wonder how much that's going to play into it though, with the 3 years, because knowing Chibnall, consequences aren't always there. So it could very easily just be skipped over, no character changes really. And just 3 years happens to be inconsequential. I like that Jericho's sticking around with them though.
And he's in episode 6, so he's sticking around. So what are your final thoughts on this story then?
I think it was very enjoyable, but certainly something that the more I think about afterwards, the more holes I find in it, and the more I might say it's my least favorite. But at the same time, it has some of my favorite moments from all the Flux in it. So it's definitely more of a mixed bag this time around. In terms of rating, I probably would go down a notch this time and say 7 out of 10. How about you?
I feel like we're very much on the same page actually for this. I felt like from our initial chat, I was like, oh, he likes it more than me. But yeah, I think that it's a very good story. I don't think it's the best Weeping Angel story of what the Weeping Angels have had. I'm one of those people who I'm a big defender of the series 5 two-parter. That's my favorite Angel story out there. In terms of TV, that is.
I agree with that, to be honest.
Oh, there we go. We're in agreement.
That is,
because I feel like that's sort of a massive hot take, that series 5 two-parter.
Yeah, I've definitely after Village of the Angels, I did see some slander on that two-parter over on Twitter. And I thought, I mean, I knew Blink was the favorite of most people, but I didn't realize there was that much negativity against that two-parter.
It's probably because of the Amy scene. That's probably why people hate on it.
Yeah, I don't mind the Amy scene, but yeah, I mean, stick with Village of the Angels.
Yeah.
Let's not turn this into a
series 5
review.
Yeah, we can do that at some point.
What the crack?
Well, we're doing that. That's too good not to use now.
There we go. You've heard it here first, folks.
To celebrate series, 12 years of series 5, that'd be quite nice. But yeah, for me, I think it did feel like very much the greatest hits of the Angels, but I think there was enough new to have them, because I think the Angels are one of those sort of things where they can become one-trick ponies. And I think that there was enough to make them not one-trick ponies. I felt like they moved a little bit too quick in certain moments when the story needed them to, especially that sort of scarecrow scene with Dan and Yaz. And there was a bit of a silly moment where Yaz looked up at the moon and like, there's an angel right in front of you. Why would you take your eyes off the angel?
Yeah. And I feel with that, there's a lot of just awkward moments that could have easily been improved. Like you could have had them taking in turns to blink, just coordinating that, and then they still sort of like trip up, or still like the light goes out and then they try to make it work, but it flashes them so they blink. Just stuff like that is so easily fixed. I think that's one of the other things that does bother me about this story. There's a lot of stuff that niggles slightly that could have so easily been better. Like there's a lot of potential here for this to be truly great, but it's just good.
Yeah, and that's why I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 as well.
Okay.
So we've got the next time trailer, Survivors of the Flux. We have the return of Kate Stewart, the big surprise, and the return of the Grand Serpent. It makes you wonder, what else is this episode hiding? So what did you think of that little trailer?
Yeah, it was very odd how nonchalantly Kate Stewart just pops up there. And like in the same week that we got the Unit Nemesis box set as well. Like,
happily timed, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. So I'm excited. I do like me a bit of Kate Stewart. So
I'm happy
to see that Unit's coming back in force. Do you think maybe Osgood would be coming along for the ride too?
I think so. You can't have Kate without Osgood.
Yeah, and I think it's easy to forget that Chris Chibnall was the first person to write for Kate in Power of Three.
Yeah, and he did a very good job. And obviously, there is those rumors of Autons and Zygons being in this.
Yeah, like
Well, there
one of
was.
those could be the
Yeah, go on.
yeah, they could be the ones breaching the shield because we know that's happening according to Carvanista. Nice to see him back again as well.
I'm looking forward to that. I miss my dog man.
Yeah, I think this is our first episode without him, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Maybe that's why I scored it like
Yeah, there we go.
not
Need more
enough dog man.
Carvanista. Yeah. That's why that's the 1 point drop, isn't it?
Pretty
He
much.
gets a whole point to himself.
Oh yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah, spoilers for next week. We're going back up to an 8, I suppose.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
fingers crossed. I mean, just have to wait and see what we make of Survivors of Flux. So that has been our little roundup and review of Village of the Angels. If you enjoy this episode, please comment down below, or just your thoughts in general. Be very interested to see whether you agree with us or you disagree. We're all here for discussion, not for conflict, because we respect all opinions here. So thank you very much for joining us for our little ramble of Doctor Who Flux. Thank you, Luke, for joining me.
Thank you for having me. And I will say, while all opinions are appreciated, no slander on Flesh and Stone. Thank you.
You heard it here, folks.
Yeah, no, I don't want to be seeing any of that.
Or we will send you in the cracking time and you will never be seen again. So thank you very much, everyone, and we'll see you very soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.